Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today, our guest is Katy Rose. I'm very happy to have you here today, Katy. Welcome.
Thank you, Essie. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. So before we get into the topic, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Katy Rose. I'm the CEO of Pins Advantage. We are a software company that provides a cloud solution for tracking and managing insurance documents.
Sounds good. So thank you for sharing that. So then let's get into the topic. What would you like to share with us today?
So I would really like to talk about the benefits of bringing risk management in-house and why an organization should strive to ultimately own that risk management piece as opposed to outsourcing it.
Sounds good. Then let's get into it. What are some key things about this? And can you also explain what exactly bringing it in-house would mean in your terms?
Yeah, it may be a good starting point to define, what it means to outsource risk management just broadly versus bringing it in-house. So, no matter what, I think, if your listeners are, tuning into this podcast, congratulations to them for thinking through these items, because at least they're doing something. Outsourcing is a great temporary solution. What I mean by outsourcing is, using a firm like MyCOI or eBooks or, your insurance agency to own the risk management piece of your organization. And you can do that in, a bunch of different ways. A risk management outsource firm can help you track insurance documents for third-party vendors. They can help educate your team members and employees around best practices for insurance compliance from vendors or contractors. But ultimately, risk management is something that I think an organization should strive to own because it's their business. So, let's talk about, as an example, a bank. A bank is, engaging constantly with different individuals who are taking out loans. And so let's say they've got, 20 mortgages for different individuals, and they're collecting insurance, homeowners insurance from everybody that has a mortgage. And that bank is really motivated to ensure, these individual homeowners are maintaining their homeowners insurance policy, because should something happen, the bank who holds the loan doesn't want to be responsible for fixing, 20 roofs or 20,000 roofs, so the risk is really real for the bank, and they have to ensure that these homeowners are keeping insurance policies so that the bank's risk is mitigated. So they're not over leveraged financially should, something catastrophic happen to these homes. So the bank might want to outsource the tracking of, homeowners insurance policies for every person that has a mortgage. But ultimately, the bank should strive to own that, because the bank really is the one that has the risk, right? This is their business's health, their financial leverage. They need to own this ultimately. They also have the relationship with the lendee. So they're the best equipped to set requirements or set expectations, what they expect from everybody that's taking out a mortgage. And that's just one story, right? This applies to every industry. If you're a general contractor and you're subbing out work, right? You're hiring guys to install drywall or windows or flooring, you have risk associated with them. If you're a city, you're hiring vendors, contractors, etc., all day, every day to manage various aspects of the city. You have risk associated with them. So really understanding your risk with the vendors and businesses you're interacting with, that's risk management, right? And so the goal is not just to understand it, but to have, processes in your organization that help you mitigate that risk, and you actually manage and own and, delegate those processes to a team. And so you can do that effectively with software. There's a ton of risk management software out there, but if we're talking about specifically risk management software that helps you track insurance documents from, third-party vendors or third-party contractors, there's tools like Pins. Pins is a great product for this. It's very easy to use. There's a low barrier to entry because it's really affordable software. You can sign up monthly, turn on and off your PIN subscription. There's other products too, like, TrustLayer or Smart Compliance is another good one that are, do-it-yourself softwares that help empower you as a risk manager to improve and own this process.
Yeah, actually, it also from a sense that, not only because it's your business, you should own in perspective, but also because it is your business, so you should know the most information about it. And I think it makes it easier to risk manage yourself sometimes because you know everything about it more than any third party as well, I guess, or from what I understand from a very
Yeah,
simple point
exactly.
of view. And yeah, that sounds actually quite explanatory. Thank you so much for that. So I want to follow up with one more question, because let's assume that we are starting to build your own risk management process, and because you're just going to bring it house, you are starting from ground zero. What are some takeaway points you can share with our audience that they can maybe start implementing?
Yeah. So, building a risk management process and bringing that in-house doesn't happen overnight. And I don't think anybody expects it to. So I think the first step in, owning this for your organization is really realizing that you have a problem today, that not owning risk management for your company or your organization is not the end game. That's not the ultimate solution. So kind of, get your head out of the sand, recognize that this needs to be done and accept it for what it is, and then begin to set, incremental, realistic goals. Like, again, nobody expects you to fix this overnight. So if you're striving to improve this, start by adopting a small solution for one area of your business that you feel like is really at risk. So if I was a general contractor and I didn't have a risk management team inside my company, I would probably start by, making a point person in my company responsible for my highest risk relationships with my subcontractors, right? So a crane operator, that's a very high risk relationship. So I would appoint someone in my organization to get educated and understand the risk associated with these high risk companies. And I'd choose a small set, something that's really manageable, something that you can truly understand. And then I would, task that person with, do we have everything we need from this group of high risk vendors to really mitigate risk if an insurance claim occurred? And maybe that's just 10 vendors to begin with, right? And so once that individual, owned that process, really understood the risk, made sure we had the right documentation in place with those vendors, then I would repeat that step, right? And make the goal a little bit bigger, not unmanageable, but just a tiny bit bigger. Now, maybe we tackle another group of high risk vendors, but this time it's 20 companies. And we ask ourselves, do we have everything we need from them? Right. And as you iterate through that process, by the end of the year, the goal should be, okay, we know what our risk is. That's number one. We've gotten our head out of the sand. We've actually made sure we have the right documentation from the riskiest aspects of our business. And now let's put a process in place. Let's take a look at a software like PINS or a software like Smart Compliance and really think about, can we be more efficient? But the understanding is achieved. We've actually gotten that education over the course of the year.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I think especially for our listeners that might be just starting their businesses, or also maybe just thinking about as a business owner to expand their team in some way, I think this is a very valuable information, or even for risk managers to start thinking about, I think. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, with that being said, one last question I have is, do you want to add anything? We have about a minute or two left.
I think one thing to add here is, if you're a business owner and you have no idea how to get started, there are tons of, networks that you can join to get an education. I'm part of ERMI or RIMS or PARMA. These are great networks. You can just Google, risk management associations in your area and find a ton of information. Your insurance broker can also help you. You can ask your insurance broker, hey, can we do a semi-annual educational seminar with you for 1 hour? And they know a ton about this. So, just ask and research and you'll find some help. If you don't know where to get started, I would, start there.
Thank you for sharing that as well. We at the Global Risk Community also provide some resources like this that hopefully we are hoping that can help people out as well. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything. It was a pleasure to have you today on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Essie. It's a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate the invite.
Yes, likewise. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.